to this computer. Okay. All right. Okay. We're starting from scratch.
Okay.
So, welcome back, Kathy Batista. Kathy has been here before as a guest, and Kathy not only is a friend, but she's a colleague from the Life Designer Coaching Academy, and also she's my mentor as I'm a member of her community. And we'll talk more about that, the Learning Circle, and all the offshoots of the services that you're offering. So, well, I had to. It's funny. I have to tell everybody we got into this discussion before I hit record, and it was such. It was like a great conversation. I'm like, wait, hold it. I got to hit record. So we have to like remember to get back to this discussion on bus.
Yeah, it's one of the hard things about menopause, right? Now you're asking me to remember what I was talking about 5 minutes ago.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, let's start from the beginning, and then I'll
Sure.
I'll make a note to I'm writing myself a note to definitely get back to that.
Oh yeah.
But
It was good.
yeah,
And
yeah.
now it's like a
So
teaser.
yeah. So there's two overall things I want to talk to you about. I want to talk about your business and all the different offerings that you have, and then I also want to talk about what you do to be well. And one of the things that I'll just preface this with that I love, like what you always say in your meetings, is that you're evolving too. In fact, the name of your community is the Learning Circle. So it's not like we all have the answers necessarily. And the spirit of my podcast is and conversation is to, let's just learn from each other. And, you know, it isn't necessarily all about having all the answers, but what are we learning as we go?
Oh yeah, definitely, right? Because it's almost like I feel like I think it's Maya Angelou who said, right, you know better, you do better, right? So as much as we keep learning, it changes and evolves, and it's almost like your toolbox gets bigger, and you might not use some of the tools as often as you did, last year or the year before, but they're still there, and you're developing new tools, and you can draw
Yeah.
on what feels good when it feels good, right?
Yeah. So the question is just occurring to me. Were you always a coach or did you do something before that?
Oh gosh, yeah. How long is this podcast? I am like a true ADHDer where like I've had many different careers and jobs, and
Oh, wow.
I've been coaching under a certification as a coach for probably like just over 5 years now. But before that, I definitely would have, that coaching vibe, right? Love to
Uh-huh.
talk to people, love to ask questions, right? So right before coaching, I was stay-at-home mom. And then prior to that, I did a lot of like substitute teaching and working in the school system with my kids and whatnot. And oh my gosh, I
Well,
truly had so
I
many
can
jobs.
see that now, as the way you facilitate, meeting. I can definitely see that teacher in you.
Yes. Oh, and I loved it. I love doing that. And I think it's so fun because I've always had this list in my head as a little girl of all these things I would want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
And as I sit here today, the only thing that I said I wanted to do that I have not done yet is to become like a cosmetologist and do hair and nails. So that's the only thing that I haven't
Well,
done.
it's
Yeah,
never too late.
exactly, right? You never know. So, yeah, so that's kind of a loaded question, but right now, coaching and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And and again, the I love the name, of your business, that the Learning Circle. What I have found also that I'm enjoying being in your membership is that not only do I love the way you facilitate a discussion, but also the other people in the group, have so much to add too that I'm getting a lot of value out as well.
Oh, that's great. That's so good to hear because I do think that it's this like attracts like, right? Like, so we
Mhm.
almost just start, this vortex, and the people that are attracted to what we're doing, we're attracted to growth and mindset and mindfulness and nervous system regulation and just spirituality, right? They're in that vortex. They see something, they come in, and it's amazing. It's an amazing group of women. And what I really like about it is it is intimate, it's
Mhm.
smaller, right? And I think
Mhm. Yes.
as a coach and as a business person, I struggled with, oh, if does my membership need hundreds of people to be a good membership? And I'm really finding that it is in these small, intimate
Mhm.
groups, right? Like I would never want
Mhm.
it to be over, 30 people. Like I just feel like you get lost, and there's a lot
Yeah.
that you miss out when you're not in a smaller, intimate group.
Yeah. I agree. I love that conversation, part of it as well.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. Yeah. I'm getting a lot out of that also.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you also started a book club.
Yeah. Yes. So the learning circle really evolved. It started as I do one-on-one coaching, I do some group coaching, and then I wanted to have an area for people to have kind of like a monthly lesson. And then we do a monthly sacred circle about it. And the sacred circle is really about community and women getting together, like a true woman's circle. It's not recorded, it's just for the people that show up. And then the lesson is where I have either guest speakers, and Betsy's been a guest speaker, or I teach a lesson and we coach on it. And then sporadically, I'll offer bonus coaching calls, which are always a lot of fun. And so that's the core membership. And inside the membership, you have access to this amazing, huge content library. Anything I've ever done is in there.
Mhm.
Um, but one of the things over the past like year and a half that I really feel strongly about and have leaned into is that transformation, spirituality, coaching has to be accessible and affordable, and people, I want it to be. I want people to be able to have the opportunity to learn and grow, right? And
Yeah.
so that's where I have a free Facebook page, and then I just started recently this free book club where we'll be doing this is our first month, and we're doing Anne Lamont's Help Wow Thanks Three Simple Prayers book. It's just important to me to have a place where people can come together and share. Women, we can share our feelings, share our insights, because
Mhm.
that's the learning circle isn't me teaching everybody stuff. Like that would actually be really boring. But like it's learning together, right? And knowing that we each have so much to give and share, and that in a circle, it's about, when to lean forward and share and when to lean back and absorb, and how that balance really can help us women in this part of our life grow and share in the joys of living and developing and becoming who we want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that is a really good byproduct out of being in a group is that someone will have an insight, and it feeds the energy feeds off of each other. So, someone will say something and it'll trigger something that is a relevation, for yourself.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And that it happens all the time because we are we all have life and life experiences, and it's invaluable and we should share that with people
Mhm.
so that when we have a different insight, it doesn't mean people have to agree with us, but it opens up the conversation and it opens up the possibility to see things a different way, which that is a miracle.
Yeah. So, something that I've been thinking a lot about lately and just kind of observing where we might not have the same opinion as someone else. and how we navigate that.
Yeah.
And certain things are like starting to seep in where I may not agree with someone, but trying to keep an open mind to just, can I look at something a different way without like immediately, like having, a judgment or a
Yeah.
reaction,
Yeah. Yeah.
and particularly with my husband. It's like always,
Yes.
like so easy to go, ah!
Yeah.
But to just kind of, pause for a moment and just absorb, like you say, absorb, like you
Yeah.
say, when to jump in and when to sit back and
Oh,
absorb.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah.
especially with those people closest to us, right?
Yeah.
It's truly like that saying, you got to pick your battles, right? Like how
Mhm,
important is this to me?
mhm,
And it might be very important, and then I have a decision to make. Or is it okay to just sit back and let somebody be in their position, be in their stance? And that's okay. It doesn't
right.
mean that I have to, like, I think a lot of times, and especially nowadays, it's this feeling of I need to convince them that
Mhm,
they're wrong and I'm
mhm,
right, right?
mhm, mhm,
And so I love, for me, what I do is I pull back and I often say, has there been a time in my life where I've been wrong and I really thought I was right? And what I needed at that time was just, I didn't need someone to berate me with their opinion. You just sit back, and it is okay. We all perceive and project in this world differently, and that's okay, right? To
yeah.
have those conversations, right? We're not
Yes.
talking about somebody's rights being, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we're talking more about just interpersonal relationships, right? To pull
Yeah.
back and
Yeah.
say,
Well, I think,
okay,
yeah, it's good practice, at home. I would say, like out in the world, that I have a tendency, if I don't agree, to just maybe not say anything. I don't want to be confrontational, but maybe, practicing at home, I could find, a way to inquire more, be from a curious, mindset,
yeah,
more more open, to hearing another point of view and understanding it. And I just, imagine, if the world, would be able to, if we would be able to hear each other a little bit more, like, what would that look like?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that need to kind of fall away, that need of being right. And and you may be right, right? And you probably are, right? So we feel this, right? We feel that, but almost to just be able to allow, right?
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
it what would really change if we just
Mhm.
take a pause
Yeah.
and allow
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah. 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 Well, I'm going to try and practice that a little bit more. See how it goes. See what happens.
Right?
So getting back to books, we started to talk about. Um, yeah, I was saying that uh, in another book club that I belong to, that a lot of the books, can be kind of like psycho thrillers and can be kind of dark, and I almost, feel like, I just want to, and I also read other books too that are
Yeah.
um, educational for, in whatever way,
Yeah.
nourishing your mind, body, spirit. And so you were starting to say, something
Yeah. Yeah, I
about that.
started to say, maybe like 8, 10 years ago, I was, for not just a little bit of time, but a good chunk of time, I loved true crime and anything true crime, the psychological thrillers, the books, the audios, I mean, Dateline, all of it. I loved it. It really, I loved it. I enjoyed it, right? And then separate from that, or maybe not, I don't know. My life just wasn't what I wanted. I was miserable in my life. I was eating too much and drinking too much, and I knew I needed to make a shift. I just was unhappy, right? And so I began my spiritual journey. And through that, I started learning more about energy and learning more about, feeding certain things in my life and my personality and who I am and who I want to be, right? And I had to pull back and I realized I'm not getting the same thing that I was getting from these books. In fact, I felt they were like started to go from hearing all these true crimes and you'd be out and it would be like exciting, right? And then now if you're out, I was like, someone's gonna try to murder me. Like it was becoming this, it just wasn't fitting into who I was becoming. And so I had to pull back. And it really was almost letting go of something that I didn't realize was having this echo effect on me, right? And so, what I think the most beautiful thing about it is it shows me the harmony and the movement of life is that there was probably a good 5 years where I chose not to and even avoided true crime and those types of books and really started to move away from them and feed myself with other things, realizing that it was not serving me.
Hmm.
And so I want to say over the past year, things have come up or news stories and or a book would be released and I have a very different relationship with that genre now. I'm not as obsessed with it. It's more intriguing and it doesn't affect me. It's almost like I was reading them without my spiritual armor and then I like developed this spiritual armor and my way of thinking and who I am and who I want to be and now I can consume that genre and read those books. And I mean, oh my gosh, like I can't wait to watch the most recent Dateline on that. I can't even remember her name. Anyways, um, but like it hits me differently now. And
Uh-huh.
um, I think that if we look at life as black and white, I could, or it might look like, oh, she's changed her mind. She's back to the other way again, or it's either you're into it or you're not. But to have this dance with things in our
Hmm.
lives,
Hmm.
right? Like
Hmm.
I'm working with someone right now who's changing her relationship with alcohol, and
Hmm.
it's not an all or nothing thing for her just like the
Hmm.
true crime wasn't an all or nothing thing for me. It's learning exactly how you want it in your life. What is that
Hmm.
relationship you want with it? And we often find it's with things that we don't want the relationship anymore. Like I didn't want that relationship with true crime. And so you form a new relationship. It doesn't mean you have to cut everything out, or it might, right? It could look
Hmm.
all sorts of different ways. But I just found it so interesting that I knew I needed to develop spiritually, and I knew I needed to find myself and be more comfortable with myself. And truly, I mean, there's a saying, it's, know yourself, be yourself, love yourself. And I knew I needed that. I knew I needed to be myself and love it.
Mm. So, how did that journey start? What type? There's so many modalities out there. What types of things were you finding to nourish yourself with and help
Yeah.
you on your journey?
Yeah. So, for me, what I the big catalyst was that I knew I was using alcohol was my mindfulness, mindset, and mood. And now I
Okay.
have other things. It was my go-to for everything. If I was happy, upset, loving life, not loving life, whatever, right? And that can be a very slippery slope for people. So I knew at that point, I mean, I also shopped too much and I ate too much. Like there was a lot of too muches because
Hmm.
I had a huge hole that I was trying to fill with anything and everything. But it was that relationship with alcohol that I think was most devastating and detrimental to
Hmm.
myself and my family. And
Hmm.
so it was that was my first route was to find Um, and it's not as easy as this as I'm going to describe it, but truly just find replacements for
Hmm.
that. Find a way that you react to disappointments than grabbing a drink. Find a way that you celebrate that isn't drinking. Find a way that you're sad or lonely and you're not drinking, right? Or eating or shopping or whatever, right?
Would you
So
say it's a mindset, or was it replacing it with another activity?
it was everything. It was truly, I did go to AA and turn it over. I no longer attend Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. It was pivotal, and I'll never take it back and never say a bad word about it, but it just wasn't for me. Um but it's however people get to the point where they're able to say, I want a better life, and
Hmm.
this is how I'm going to do it. And I think ultimately, what one thing that the rooms of AA told me and taught me, and that I practice today, is community is so important. I mean, you are the sum of the five people you spend most time with, right? And so if that is a spouse that demeans you, right, you want to look at that. If that is even family members that are taking part in things that you don't want to take part in anymore, your friends, so you really have to look and cultivate the life you want.
Hmm.
And that it is like what you talk about, being well, like
Hmm.
being, right, so that you are well.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and would you say that um, from there, there's, other types of ways that you found to nourish yourself in terms of you had mentioned food also.
Yeah.
Are there ways that you find that you're nourishing yourself in a more healthy way, or um, anything,
Yeah.
movement? Love to get your perspective on, let's say, food and
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And you know what I think? Perception needs to change, right? So when you're feeling something you don't want to feel, or you're feeling something that you think needs to be magnified, right? It's much easier to find, shopping, drugs, food, alcohol, whatever it is, right? Or the books, the things you're reading and doing, right? I'll never forget one time and this is, I don't think I've ever told anybody this, but I was just feeling like sad and overwhelmed and depressed. And I was like, I'll have some ice cream. And I literally took out the big thing of ice cream and I ate it all. And I remember looking at it empty and going, I it's not in there. I didn't find anything. Like, I'm looking for happiness and it wasn't in there. I literally cleaned it out. It's not in there.
dig a little
Like,
deeper?
yeah, it was
Are
gone.
you sure?
Yeah, it's not there. It's not there. Right. And so I think that it's when we stop and say, what am I looking for? Right. So it's
Mm,
easier to, it's
hmm.
quick, quick, quick. That's our society, right?
Yes.
So if I'm feeling sad and I have this urge for a hit of dopamine and some serotonin and relaxation, and I'm going to grab something that gives that to me, and you've got years of that working for you, it's quick
Hmm.
and easy, right? But does it
Yeah.
last? No. So it's sometimes the tools that we have to cultivate, we start
Hmm.
small, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even for me, it was pausing and saying and naming it. What am I feeling? Because I would just be like, I'm off, I'm unhappy, and that was it. I didn't know any levels of any of it. Like, I feel
Mhm.
off and I'm unhappy. And so it was learning and getting just that level deeper of like, well, how would you describe this? Or where, like talking to myself, right? Okay, so now you're feeling this before you grab the ice cream or whatever, right? What is the next level? What is that? Can I make a connection with what that is? And often it would be connected to something that happened that triggered a past feeling. and your
Hmm.
brain is like, I don't want to go there again. So let's get
Yeah.
ourselves out of it, right? So it's patience and in the pause and so it's those baby steps, right?
Hmm.
And so even
Yeah.
if it's like you're like, okay, I'm going to take 3 deep breaths or I'm going to allow myself, I'm going to like I did this in the very beginning. I am going to walk around the house 3 times and come back in and check in, right? And so there's not a rule book, right? And so when we, as you know, we work with people as a coach, it's tailoring these things for our clients, but it's finding the path of the least resistance to the next best feeling that you can possibly get to. And if you can't, and it's a variation of unhappiness, that's okay too.
Yeah. So I have this such a clear picture, of, and not necessarily you, but myself, um, other people that I know where it's just, you just don't want to feel, that whatever it is, right? And so, like, you're doing
Yeah.
whatever activity it is and it could even be a healthy activity, but you're just, keep going, going, going so that you're not feeling, that feeling. I give you so much credit. It takes a lot of courage to be able to, want to stop, pause, and take a look at what's really happening beneath the surface.
Yeah, definitely. I think that so there's another saying is, you when you're tired of being sick and tired, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, it happens at varying degrees for different people all the time, right? And so and even it's, I'm struggling now with, okay, I just turned 51. I'm not absolutely thrilled with some of the numbers, right? And so, am I at the point where I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, or am I going to, continue to indulge in some of the things that I currently indulge in, which I'm currently loving sourdough bread. Anyway, but like, so really, when it's all about that, like when you are ready.
Yeah. Well, I gotta tell you, it just gets better. I'm well past 50, my 50s. So I'm here to tell you that it just gets better and better.
Oh my God, I'll take advice from you because you look
Well,
amazing and you're amazing.
I, I don't necessarily have any advice, like you say, like we all find our own path.
Yeah.
But, I think, but it is, like pretty, exciting though to, again, just, be in these communities and, just like keep learning. It's just, so, I don't know,
Yeah.
revitalizing.
It is. And I think that it's that community where it's sometimes we, get in these ruts of it is just our husbands, or it is just our kids, or it is just the neighbors, or it is just the dog, right? Like and so when we can create our community and create those 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? And it's
Mhm.
just learning and growing and sharing that loneliness that often can
Yeah,
accompany an aging can
yes,
be muted. It can be instead now you're feeling vibrant and celebrated and you have something that you're looking forward to and you're learning something new and you're growing and changing. Or, I mean, it's also you're teaching people, which is such a powerful tool. We have
yeah,
so much to share,
yeah.
everybody.
Well, I think that that's, just the next step with it's so exciting to learn something, but then if we can, share it, spread the wealth, all the better.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah. And, I can also, I think we also have to experience it ourselves because I know there's some things that I've heard over and over and over again. And sometimes it's years later before it like really resonates.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I mean, right? Yes. And even thinking things when I was much younger, right? Like gosh, just even like I can remember my mom being in my 20s and she being like, you should take care of your body now. It doesn't get any easier. And now I'm like, oh, okay. Like, but it's just, I mean, I wouldn't want to ruin anyone's 20s by telling them this now, right? Go
Yeah,
enjoy your 20s. But
yeah.
it's so true. Like you hear, and that's what I think is amazing when you are in community. And I always say it at the beginning of the calls is like, keep that beginner's mind because even if you think you know, like when you shared with us, even if you think you know Ayurveda, if you go with a beginner's mind and you're curious, you're going to learn something. You know, you will. It, you know, and it may not be about Ayurveda, but someone might say something, right? So if we come, and this is goes back to the conversations we can have with our husband, like what you were talking about, right? If we
Hmm.
approach every conversation with what can I learn? And it
Hmm.
might just be, he might be saying something that you totally disagree with, but he is passionate. And you're like, God, I haven't seen him like that in so long. I'm so glad he has that fire in him that he's passionate, right? So when we can look at things with fresh beginner mind eyes and curiosity, that's where you're going to learn. No one's trying to sway you into thinking a certain way, but you can learn and relearn things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, like, I think now more than ever, a skill if we can, build to at least uh, entertain, someone else's perspective.
I love that. Yes, entertain. Yes, exactly. Yes. I love it. It's true.
Yeah,
And it is a skill and it does require presence. It requires the
yeah,
pause.
yeah,
And even when you start you and it's knowing yourself, right? Because I bet if you're anything like me, the second they start talking, I can feel it. And I'm like, oh, this is going somewhere. I don't want to, But if so then I can pause it and say, you know what? Just remember the beginner's mind and like
yeah,
allow it to come.
yeah, yeah. Very true. Very true.
Mm.
Um, is there, it's funny because I jotted down, a few, notes of things that I might wanted to ask you about with what you do for your wellness. And one of them was community. And we just like seem to like, keep coming back to that, keep coming back to that. And um, so I feel like we can't, stress that enough, no matter where you find it.
Oh yeah.
And particularly, as we age, like now we're very mobile and we can belong to different communities, online outside of our neighborhood. But the older we get, the more we have a tendency, or my observation anyway, with my parents and other relatives is that they have a tendency not only because of logistics, but just mentally they have a tendency to want to keep to themselves. I don't know if you have any observations about that with older people
Yeah.
that you know, and how maybe do you have an example of someone that's older that does still, have a vibrant community?
Yeah. So I
Where do you
think
find it?
what?
And where do you find it?
Yeah. So I'm going to share my observation and I don't know if I have any words of wisdom that go along with it. But so last spring my husband and I bought a house in Florida to be near my parents. And so the general vibe in Florida is older people. Anyways, right? And so it really just, my observation started to get me thinking about people who, are still in love and in friendship with their
Hmm.
spouse, with their
Hmm.
husband, their wife, and
Hmm.
and they're their people, right?
Okay.
But it's naive to not think someone will pass first,
Hmm.
and then you're alone. And that was something that I saw in Florida a lot was then it's physically and mentally devastating to somebody who their whole world is this one other person, right?
Yeah.
And so it almost just behooves us in 40s and 50s and 60s to cultivate relationships so that we have people to say, my spouse
Mhm.
just passed and now I don't know
Yes.
what to do, or
Mhm.
I don't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving, or I don't, do you know what I mean? That was
I
where,
think
so I
that's a
don't
great
know.
point.
Yeah, it was just so like, um, oh, her spouse just passed and she's having a
Hmm.
really hard time. And the neighbors are like, let her grieve, right? But where's her community?
Yeah.
Where are the people checking in on her, right? But it's being proactive. We need to prepay
Yes.
this with having
Yes.
friendships, with having somebody who knows you, that you, even if it's Zoom, if I got on a call, I know like you and Kathy and some of the other members would be like, something's off. Like to have people to go,
Hmm.
she might
Hmm.
need something right now, right?
Yep.
And whether that is your church or whether it's the community center where you're living or the library or any of the communities that are forming online. I mean, women are coming out in masses to get community, right? To just even find those people that are your people. Because
Hmm.
what I also find, what happens is you've got people in their 20s and 30s and sometimes even in their 40s, their friends are their kids' friends' parents. And
Right.
when those relationships change, now you no
Hmm.
longer have those friends. And
Yep.
so you're at square one, right?
Yep.
And that can feel pretty devastating. And
Yes.
so learning and cultivating your relationships so that it's that reciprocity. Yeah, it's that
Yes.
where it's like
Yeah.
you can be there for other people and they can be there for you. I mean, it's the thing that came to my mind, and it maybe isn't very nice, but like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Right? Like, and so that was really devastating. I saw few women. It wasn't
Yeah.
even men that their spouses passed away, and then they're just
Yes. Yeah.
devastated.
Kathy, I mean, I think that that's really, really wise. And I had not thought about it really from that perspective. And that start, growing, even if you have those roots, keep cultivating them, keep nourishing them. And
Yeah.
even if you have to dig some up and plant some new ones, just keep
Right.
growing those
Yeah.
roots. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
find your people, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
uh, in where I used to live, in my old town. We're now here about 3 years, but in my old town, unfortunately, I knew a lot of young women widows, and it's just shocking that that it was so prevalent.
Yeah.
And so it's something that um, I'm not worried about it, but I'm just aware of it.
Yes.
And and I think even, like going back to, I can think of like seventh grade, like my tribe, was always very important to me. In fact, that plaque that you see behind me, that
Yeah.
was written by one of the women in my tribes that I was friends with in seventh grade.
Oh
And
my
it's about
gosh.
tribe. Yes,
Oh, that's so beautiful.
it really is. It
Yeah.
really is. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So, it becomes, as as I age, I feel like it's harder and harder to sometimes, especially, those friends because they're all over the country. And even I'm lucky enough to have a bunch of friends right in my neighborhood.
mm.
But I do think that it's harder. Sometimes I just feel like, you know, staying in. I don't really feel like going out as much as I used to when I was
Yeah.
younger. So,
I
I
have a
guess,
tip for that.
tell me, tell
Well,
me.
it's only because out of the necessity of it is, so I have two friends that are actually the moms of my youngest son's friends who they're no longer friends and haven't been for years, but the three of us have stayed close. And we would get together. They're in a different town now, and we would get together monthly and meet out for dinner, right? And I know, like, for years now, I'm like, I don't feel like going out to dinner. It's dark. Like,
Right?
it's
It's dark
dark.
and
Yes.
cold. I want to go to bed early.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I enjoy spending the nights with my husband too, right? So now it's about getting creative. We go to breakfast or we go to lunch. Like you just switch it up, right? Like it's when we get in those mindsets that it's like we always go to dinner every month. We go to dinner every month. Well, yes, it's just one dinner, but if I'm not enjoying it and don't feel the same way about it, let's switch it up. Let's do lunch. Let's do this, right? And so it is about finding something, and it's
Yeah.
even like I was kind of laughing when you were talking about it. And I'm like, even if it is joining a book group that reads psychological thrillers, you're meeting people, you're enjoying, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
you're finding people, you're doing something, right? And
Yeah. Yes.
if going to church isn't your thing, there's the library or there's so many. I mean, I think sometimes you just gotta, it takes action, right? Like
Yeah.
it's looking what's in
Yeah.
your area,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
It's a little bit of effort. Yeah. But then, it's kind of like, going to an exercise class. You don't feel like going, but once you get there, you feel so much better, particularly
Yes.
afterwards.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it is that. I mean, and that's a great example, like joining the Y or joining
Hmm.
something, you know what I mean? And even if it
Yes.
is,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you just can if, find even just those couple people that you connect with, and that can
Mhm.
be your tribe,
Yeah.
right? That can be
Yes.
the people that you lean on. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize how important it was because, 10 years ago when I was struggling, I was like, uh, there's no reason for me to be struggling. So I was embarrassed to even say I'm struggling because there was absolutely no outside appearance that would say this person should be struggling right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Hmm.
so it's isolating when you are celebrating by yourself. It's isolating when you're sad by yourself. And that I didn't realize how important community is for well-being.
Yeah. 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 I put it, if not at the top, very close to the top of the
Yeah, we
list.
weren't
Yeah.
meant to do this alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So I'm so glad that we had this conversation because it really reinforces the value, that I put on the communities that I do have and not take them for granted and keep keep nourishing them.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Good. All right. Well, anything else that you want to share today? Any little bits of wisdom, or I'll have your website in the show notes so people can find out all about the various aspects of your programs. But if there's anything else you want to add, or even anything at all.
Oh gosh, I feel on the spot. I have no idea what to add. Oh, you know what I think I'll add is it hit me when
Yeah.
you were talking. You don't have to like everybody in the community. It's not like it's like, do you know what I mean? Like rah rah
I
shish kebab,
totally know
we're
what
all
you mean.
best friends. You're gonna probably hear some people say some things that you're not gonna like, but that's okay, right? It's just about being together and being with other people and sharing experience, right? Because I think that that's the fear too is, oh my God, am I gonna like everybody or is everybody gonna like me? Well, probably, but maybe not,
Yeah.
right? And that's
Yeah.
okay
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Well, I absolutely, have that experience, and I think that um, something that I was weighing was, do I want to stay in? Do I want, do I want to step back out? But I came to the conclusion that, you know what, it's worth it. The rest of the benefits are worth it. So,
Yeah.
and it's a good practice tool for me to be maybe a little more tolerant, you know?
Right?
Yeah.
I think that it's even a little more like we're talking about curious, open-minded and just
Mhm.
and it's okay. You don't it's I think that that's a big thing is that we worry if we're going to like everybody or if everyone's going to
Mhm.
like us. And
Yeah.
I remember I was in second grade and my mom told me not everyone's going to like you. It was shocking, but it was a very valuable lesson. And
That's
really,
tough at second grade.
I know,
Second grade is
right?
tough anyway.
My mom, she was very, Yeah, matter of fact. Yeah. Yeah.
Told it like it was.
Right? Yeah. My kids, I'd be like, well, they don't know what they're missing. But yes, yeah, not everyone's gonna like you, and not everyone, you're not gonna like everyone, but it's not like that grade school. It's more of an acceptance. You're just accepting people because everybody's different.
Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
Oh, Kathy, great. I'm going to listen to this again and again, just to remind myself, like those like words of wisdom were so good. So thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, Betsy, thank you for having me on this podcast. I love it. And honestly, I would love it if in the show notes you dropped the lesson that you did for the Learning Circle and shared that with everybody too, if you don't mind.
Okay. All right. Well, again, Kathy, thank you. I look forward to seeing you, back in the circle,
Yeah,
among other places.
definitely.
Yes,
Yes. I
yes,
know
yes.
we're in like intermingling societies and communities. It's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. It
Yeah.
really is. All right. Well, thanks again. I'm going to hit pause on